First, get the steam started to heat up the cooker and turn on the mixer. Start grinding the corn into the cooker and add alpha amylase enzyme. Alpha enzymes are used to break down starch into smaller sugar molecules, such as glucose and maltose. The cooker must be heated up to 200 degrees in order to kill any bacteria that may be in the limestone lake water that we use in our mash. To completely cook all sugars out of the corn, the mash must be above 165 degrees for at least 1 hour. Once at 200 degrees, we then start cooling the mash down in order to add the other grains. We have specific temperatures for each of the grains we use. For example, 180 for wheat and 145 for malt. While adding malt to the mash, we also add glucose enzymes, which also helps to break down the starches in the mash. Once mash is cooled to 89 degrees, the yeast is added. Yeast is most productive between 85 and 95 degrees. Anything below 85 degrees and the yeast will lay dormant, and at temperature over 100 degrees, the yeast will begin to die off. Throughout the process of cooking and cooling the mash, we are also cleaning and sterilizing our empty fermentation tanks, where mash will sit and ferment for at least 3 days. Using the PBW, Professional Brewer's Wash, steaming the tank to 200 degrees, and then spraying with the alcohol cleaner heads that we collect during the distillation process. While pumping mash, we will collect a sample to test the brix, sugar content, and the pH balance, acidity. Ideal brix is between 18 and 20, and for pH between 4.0 and 6.0. While the mash is pumping out of cookers, we spray down the entire cooker, then refill the cooker and repeat the process. Unlike a lot of distilleries that use a sour mash, which is a combination of recycled and fresh mash, we only use a sweet mash, which means we only cook with fresh water and grains every day. Start steam on stills to get ready for the run and start mixing the wash. Wash is the mash after it has been fermented. Once the wash has been pumped into the stills, close the lids, remove the hoses, start the condenser and dephlegmator water. Both are used to condense alcohol vapor back into a liquid. Once the wash is heated to 190 degrees, we set the steam to maintain the temperature. Since alcohol evaporates at 173 degrees and water at 212 degrees, maintaining temp of 190, we'll take the alcohol and leave the water in the wash. Once the alcohol has started to evaporate, it will travel up the column to the condenser and dephlegmator, where the vapor will be rapidly cooled back to a liquid. From there, it will travel down the swan arm to the parrot, which contains a hydrometer inside to give a rough estimate of the alcohol percentage. You have to let alcohol cool to 60 degrees for the true proof. Once we have ran through the heads, we collect the tails to run feints. All parts of the alcohol are collected and used. 4-shot is collected as disinfectant for the empty fermenters, while the heads and tails are collected to be mixed with the wash and redistilled to collect any remaining alcohol that may have otherwise been discarded. Once we have finished the distillation process, all hearts are sampled for true proof with a digital alcohol hydrometer. This calculates true proof regardless of temperature. Then pumped into our cistern tank. The alcohol is then weighed and calculations are made to determine precisely how much reverse osmosis, RO water, is needed to cut alcohol to 111 proof to be barreled. Leftover wash is pumped out of stills and either sent to local farmers to feed livestock or pumped out here to feed the buffalo, elk, Highlander cows, and many other various forms of wildlife on the property. Once the RO water has been added to the alcohol, we begin mixing. Once the mixture has settled, a sample is then pulled and retested to ensure the mixture is precisely 55.5% or 111 proof, and the alcohol is ready to be barreled. Only virgin charred white oak barrels are used to store and age our alcohol. Barrels are numbered and dated to ensure accurate age, and then filled with about 410 pounds or around 53 wine gallons of alcohol. Once the bung is hammered into place to seal barrels, all barrels are labeled and sent to on-site rick houses, where they are either sent straight to the customer or stored on location for a minimum of 18 months, where they will stay until they have reached desired age and are ready to be bottled.